Okay, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a story that feels like it was literally ripped straight out of a high-intensity Hollywood thriller, but I promise you it is absolutely real. We're talking about a notorious 1940s case that completely changed the landscape of criminal justice. Today we're looking at the acid bath murderer, and how a charming British conman actually thought he had discovered the ultimate loophole in the legal system, and how groundbreaking science brought his whole horrifying scheme crashing down.
Listen to this. No physical body left behind, no conviction for murder. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a stark, incredibly dangerous quote, right? And this wasn't just some passing thought. This was the arrogant foundation that fueled a truly gruesome killing spree. This charming con man honestly believed that if he completely erased the physical evidence of his victims, the law simply couldn't touch him. He thought he was untouchable. He literally thought he had outsmarted the entire justice system.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp how this guy operated, the era is absolutely crucial. We're in the 1940s. Forensics as we know them today, DNA testing, advanced digital tracking, absolutely none of that existed. The legal system relied incredibly heavily on traditional physical evidence. And this seemingly charming individual decided to manipulate the legal knowledge of his time to his extreme advantage. He looked at the limitations of 1940s police work and saw what he thought was a golden opportunity to commit the perfect crime.
So this brings us to the deadly legal misconception at the very heart of this case, the notorious no-body myth.
To really get inside the mind of this conman, we have to understand the exact loophole he was trying to exploit. It was all based on a legal myth. It was this bizarre, totally false but widely held belief that a murder conviction is legally impossible without an intact physical corpse. He took this myth as absolute gospel truth. The sheer arrogance is staggering when you think about it. He truly believed he had discovered a foolproof hack to the legal system, that without a body to present to a jury, there was no way they could ever declare him guilty of murder.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because his actual method for pulling this off was truly, truly gruesome. We're talking about vats of sulfuric acid.
The reality of what he did is just horrifying. His victims were completely dissolved in vats of industrial-strength sulfuric acid. You have this really chilling contrast here, right? On one hand, this charming exterior, a man who could talk his way into anyone's trust, and on the other, a methodology designed to make human beings simply vanish. He didn't just want to hide his victims, he sought their absolute, complete destruction. By submerging them in acid, he was meticulously trying to ensure that the no-body myth would protect him. In his mind, he was erasing the equation entirely. No body, no crime, no punishment.
So the crucial point is, does acid truly destroy everything? That's the dramatic pivot of our explainer today. The killer bet his actual life on the answer being yes. He thought his perfect crime was completely sealed inside those vats. But, well, the relentless, unyielding nature of science was about to seriously challenge that assumption.
And here comes the forensic catch. The microscopic reality that he completely overlooked.
See, the killer expected total destruction. He was focused on the macro-level horror of vats of acid, just assuming the chemistry would erase every single trace. But the forensic reality? It was a totally different story. Detectives actually found surviving anomalies. Going down to the micro level, these investigators weren't about to just throw their hands up and give up because they couldn't find an intact corpse. They painstakingly searched through this horrible leftover acid sludge, just desperately looking for anything, any tiny anomaly at all that defied the killer's arrogant expectation of total erasure.
Which leads us to how they defeated the myth using undeniably resilient physical evidence. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the specific evidence they actually found. Detectives pulled two exact, seemingly mundane items out of that sludge that proved absolutely fatal to his defense. First, a tiny gallstone. It's a biological anomaly that was actually dense enough to resist the powerful sulfuric acid. And second, plastic dentures. They were made of synthetic acrylics that specifically survived the chemical breakdown. The killer thought of everything on this massive, grand scale, but he completely failed to consider the microscopic and synthetic details of the human body and the everyday things we put inside it. And this brilliantly illustrates how these surviving traces led to a groundbreaking conviction. It proved once and for all that you can never truly destroy all the physical evidence. Those tiny gallstones and plastic dentures completely dismantled that no-body legal myth right there in court. This groundbreaking forensic science proved that physical evidence always leaves a whisper, a trace, or a shadow. The conman was convicted, proving that a physical, intact corpse isn't strictly necessary when science can step in and speak for the victim. Which leaves us with this final, kind of chilling thought to consider. If vats of sulfuric acid couldn't completely erase a crime back in the 1940s, an era with incredibly limited forensic technology, what invisible traces do we leave behind today? We live in a world of complex digital footprints, advanced DNA analysis, and microscopic tracking. The perfect crime was a myth back then, and it's even more of an impossibility right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you a fascinating new perspective on the